So for this question, we have how many decameters are in 1.4 miles? Then it gives us the hint there are 5,280 feet in every mile. Now, the first thing that's important here is as we're looking at this question, we need to recognize the fact that the capital D here stands for deca, not deci. So since it stands for deca, that does change the power of 10 when we're in the metric system a little bit, just in case you got hung up on that. Now, as we're starting this question, we first want to start off with our 1.4 miles. Now, before we even get too far, let's just make a little plan here. So to get from miles all the way to decameters, one of the intermediate steps here is we're going to have to go from inches to centimeters, because we know that there's 2.54 centimeters for every inch. Now let's make a little plan from how we can get from miles to inches. Now the first step should be to go from miles to feet. And it did tell us there's 5,280 feet for every mile. Now once we get to feet, we know how to convert to inches, which then allows us to convert to centimeters. Then from centimeters, we can go all the way to decameters. So now that we have a little plan in place, let's actually go about solving this problem. And so as we said, our first step should be to go from miles to feet. And so using the conversion factor that our question gave us, we know that there's 5,280 feet for every 1 mile. Now that ensures that miles cancel out. Now let's go through our next part in converting feet to inches. And so since feet's on the top on this conversion factor, that means it needs to be on the bottom in order to cancel out, which means inches go on top. And so now we know that there's 12 inches for every 1 foot. Now feet will cancel. Now from inches, we said we can go to centimeters. And remember, we said that there's 2.54 centimeters for every 1 inch. Then from inches canceling out, we can go centimeters to decameters. And so since we want centimeters to cancel out and we want to keep decameters, that means decameters needs to go on top. And so when we ask ourselves which is bigger, a decameter or a centimeter, we know that decameters are bigger, so it's going to get the 1, and the power of 10 is going to go with centimeters. And in this case, the power of 10, as we go from centimeters to decameters, should be 10 to the third power. Now, when we plug this into our calculator, remember anything on top you're going to multiply, and anything on the bottom you're going to divide, which means that when we plug it in, it should be 1.4 times 5,280 times 12 times 2.54, then divided by 10 to the third power. And when we plug this into our calculator, we get the final answer of 225 decameters. So there it is, our answer.